Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Shri Sadguru Paramatmane Namaha. Sarva Maharshibhyo Namaha. Atha Saptadashodhyayaha. The 17th discourse. Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogaha, the Yoga of Threefold Faith. The title of the discourse, Shraddha, faith is threefold, Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. The qualities and action of the three types of men endowed with the threefold faith are described in this discourse, and so it is entitled Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogaha. How this discourse is connected with the previous one. At the end of the previous discourse, the Lord declared categorically that no good could be achieved without adhering to the scriptural ordinances. A doubt cropped up in Arjuna's mind when he heard it, and he presents his doubt to the Lord at once. What would be the position of a person who is conducting worship with faith, Shraddha, though it is contrary to the Shastras? How would it be described, Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic? The discourse starts with Arjuna's question. Arjuna Uvacha Ye Shastra Vidhi Musrujya Ejante Shraddhayanvitaha Tesham Nishtatu Ka Krishna Sattva Maho Rajastamaha. First sloka. Substance. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the condition of those who perform worship with faith, though contrary to the law of the scriptures, Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic? Commentary. It was declared that action contrary to the Shastric commands cannot lead to perfection. But there are people who have not read the Shastras either by indifference or incompetence or other reasons, and yet who believe in a higher power and carry on some form of worship and perform sacrifices. These men are different from the demonical type because the latter entirely deny the existence of the higher power. These people have faith, but it is not in conformity with the Shastras. What is their condition? What is the nature of their worship? This is Arjuna's question. The Lord's explanation. Second sloka. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Trivida Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sasvabhavaja Satviki Rajasi Cheva Tamasi Chetitam Shrunu. Substance. The Blessed Lord said, born of the nature past samskaras, O beings, that is, the Shraddha is threefold, Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. Now hear about it. Commenting. Swabhavaja. Men are born with different objects of faith according to their practice and experience in the past births. It comes to them as an inherited quality and determines the nature of their worship and sacrifice. Question. What is the threefold Shraddha? Answer. It is Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. Question. What is the cause of this difference? Answer. Nature, that is the samskaras of the previous births, is the cause of the distinction. Shraddha, past samskaras or quality, is the essence of man, is man himself. Third sloka. Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha bhavati bharata Shraddha mayoyam purusho yo yat Shraddha sa eva saha. Substance. O Arjuna, the faith of each man is in conformity with his nature, past samskaras. The very essence of the jiva is faith. As a man's faith is, so is he. He adopts that faith and becomes that. Commentary. The mind, the inner organ, is alone the jiva, man. So if the mind is pure, purity becomes the essence of that man. Here the word sattva means mind. Every individual acquires that nature when he has brought with him from his experience in former births, and his faith takes on that quality only. He is that faith qualified by his samskaras. So, it is the duty of man to instill sattvic disposition into his character and by practice transcend that only also to reach the highest state. The tamasic and rajasic kinds of Shraddha should be abandoned because they pull man downwards into lower forms of existence. Among the qualities, Sattva is the nearest to Atma, and in Shuddha Sattva, man directly perceives Atma and enters the Nirguna state. That is the real self of man. That is his final goal. Question: what kind of Shraddha does man acquire? Answer: it is in conformity with the disposition of his mind. Question: with what is man filled? Answer: Shraddha. Question: what is the state of man? Answer: it is just what his mind is. This state is called Jiva. The real man is the supreme self and not the reflected personality created in the mind. The nature of man's worship is in accordance with the quality of his faith. Fourth shloka. Yajante satvika devan yaksharakshansi rajasaha pretan bhutaganaschanye yajante tamasajanaha. Substance. Men of Sattvaguna worship the Devas, men of Rajoguna worship the Yakshas and Rakshasas, men of Tamoguna worship the hosts of departed souls and nature spirits. Commentary. In the 14th discourse, the Lord has already described the three gunas and how men dominated by each think and act in the world. The Lord is explaining the same idea in a different context. The Lord condemns the frightful body mortifying austerities of the asuric type of men. Fifth shloka. Ashastra vihitam ghoram tapyante etapojanaha dambhahankara samyuktaha kamaragabalanvitaha. Sixth shloka. Karshayantaha sharirastam bhutagramamachetasah mam chaivantaha sharirastam tan vidyasura. Substance. Those who torture the aggregate of the elements in the body and thereby torture even me dwelling within the vehicle of the body, who are possessed by pretension and pride combined with lust, longing, and animal strength, who practice austerities horrible to themselves and other beings, contrary to the ordinance of the Shastras, devoid of understanding, know such men to be of demonical resolve. Commentary. Ashastra Vihitam. The Gita insists on adherence to the Shastras for spiritual advancement. Austerities which are prohibited by the Shastras should not be undertaken. They are only tamasic and rajasic types of tapas, frightful and horrid to themselves and other beings. Such inhuman forms of austerity show that these men are devoid of understanding. Tapyante e tapojanaha. The true purpose of tapas is the purification of the mind and not the torturing of the body. The evil tendencies of the mind should no doubt be burnt up before spiritual illumination dawns on man. But cruel mortification of the flesh is not sanctioned by the Shastras as a mean to self purification. Kama raga balanvitaha. Worldly power and physical powers count for nothing without divine strength. Such men who are devoid of godly spirit in them are asuras, whatever other qualities they may possess. Lust and longing for sensual pleasures wither away the divine elements in man. The divine is covered up by foul and filthy passions and impulses. Therefore, those who seek for spiritual illumination should annihilate these demonical qualities and take to devotion and knowledge from which flows divine strength and power. Karshayantaha bhutagramam. Those who wither away the body and sense organs by fasting are of asuric nature. Of course, fasting for the sake of bodily health and on holy days for acquiring self discipline are good, but the law of moderation should not be violated. Yukta hara viharasya. Beyond a certain limit, fasting becomes cruelty of to the body and the senses. This will not take man to the goal. One cannot kill the snake by striking the bush. The real enemy to be destroyed is the impurity of the mind, and this cannot be done by torturing the body. One has to be extremely cautious in this matter. Tapas is an act of self discipline and ego annihilation. To boast of one's own capacity to go without food and rest, or to perform physical gymnastics by keeping the heels in the air and the head on the ground may show off his physical endurance, but is not a mark of devotion or gnana. Fasting and other forms of self discipline are led to keep the body and senses under control so that they may not impede man's progress towards the divine. They are means to this end and are not ends in themselves. The way of yoga is moderation. Horrible forms of torturing the body are tamasic austerity. Mam chaivantaha sharirastam. The Lord is dwelling within the body. So, torturing the body is torturing the Lord Himself. The man who feels the presence of the Lord in all the limbs and senses will not willingly injure them by demonical self mortification. Of course, the Lord, being the witness, only is not affected by what happens to the body, whether it is nourished or tortured. But the point of view of the individual, it is injury to the Lord. That is why men are called upon to practice ahimsa, non injury to all beings, because the Lord is present in all beings. The same truth applies to one's own presence. Self torture is thus ahimsa to the Lord Himself. It is clearly declared here that nothing truly spiritual could be achieved by these tamasic austerities. In fact, the asuras, when they practice these austerities, do so not for God realization but for gaining some miraculous powers and personal enjoyments in this world and or in other world. This aim is kama and raga, the thirst for self sense gratification. Thus, the aim of these men of demonical nature is entirely different. The real seekers should cultivate pure sattvic virtues, discriminate between the real and the unreal, separate the five sheets, and realize Paramatma in themselves. Question: what is the nature of asuric type of people? Answer: they are subject to pride, self conceit, and pretension. They are possessed by lust and attachment. They have no discrimination. They torture the body and the senses, and so they torture the indwelling Lord.